Kobe didn't take no vacations like that. Like if he had a disappointing season, I know what he's doing. I can't be on vacation taking my all this time off and relaxing on the beach and not working on my shit, because that's one of the coldest motherfuckers to ever play the game, and I gotta see him. And people in the barbershop is talking, who's better, T-Mac? I ain't got, no, bro. I got something I got to live up to, because the conversation, my name is in this conversation.
Yeah.
So I got to be prepared for, an 82-game season, but I got to be prepared for certain matchups, because I know those matchups is what's going to determine how I'm viewed out here in the people's eyes.
Two legends with a capital L in the building. Houston royalty, Bun, T-Mac, Tracy McGrady, OGs. Bun, we need to start with Trill Burgers. Can you just...
There's one right behind you if you're hungry.
We eat it, but we don't... should we eat it during the app? I feel like...
I'm not eating right now.
I'm gonna eat. Let's get
y'all.
halfway through, and then I might crack it open. Can you explain... The two of us know, but can you explain to everybody the genesis of what Good Morning America called the best burger in the United States of America?
That's a stamp.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it as short as possible, because it goes through many phases. I met Andy Nguyen, who's one of the co-owners of the company, probably about at this point, maybe 10, 11 years ago. He was in the clothing industry. And I was doing a lot of stuff at the time with Mesquite and LRG, a couple of different other brands. And so he had a company called I Am King. And obviously I rep Underground King. So I saw him, I met him, he gave me the hat, and I thought the hat was cool. And I also knew nobody else had the hat. So I wore the hat all weekend. He and I became pretty good friends. He eventually transitioned from clothing to food and had some very real success. I don't know if you've ever heard of After's Ice Cream, but he helped create After's Ice Cream. They ended up opening like 30 plus locations. He's had some very real success in the food industry. And we had a mutual friend named Nick Scurfield. Nick Scurfield used to work for the Texans, and he used to do their podcast. And I met him at the Texans game where we tried to play against the Patriots. I believe that was the game where everybody wore the varsity jackets type of thing. So Nick and I got to know each other well, and then Nick moved into marketing and eventually became part of the marketing and promotions team for Andy's Restaurants. Andy had a new concept with a burger, but the smash burger concept was already sort of taking off in Los Angeles, where the whole boom kind of started. It was working its way across the country, and he's like a guy that studies trends. And he's like, this burger is going, I've got a burger, I can't do it here. And the trend is literally right now in Oklahoma. If I don't get it in Texas, I'll miss it. And so, but he's like, I need a partner. And Nick mentioned at the time I had a food blog, which I still have, called You Gotta Eat This. And I had been looking to go into the food space, like outside of writing and blogging, but like actually owning a concept. I tried the burger. I thought it was far and away one of the best burgers I'd ever had. They fine-tuned it, brought it back to me, and I tried it the second time. And not only was it easily the best burger I'd ever had, but it was one of the best meals I'd ever had. Like the flavor combination was crazy. And so I jumped in with him. I was like, let's build this company. And, we started off strong. We had a lot of momentum. We went through some internal changes with different people who were part of the company. And so we were literally back at zero. Like there was no money in the coffers, you know what I'm saying? And we had to literally build everything up from $1 all over again. And right around that time was when we got the call from Good Morning America to compete. So couldn't have had better time. And we competed in Houston. We won the Houston competition. There was also competitions in 3 other cities. So we all went to New York, competed in the studio initially, and then they had us bring like the food and the grills and everything like outside into the middle of Times Square and finished the meal and the competition. And we ended up winning Best Burger in America. And from that point on, it just really like took off as far as people calling and reaching out. But we had a very clear vision of how we wanted to build the company. And we knew that we could get a lot of use from relationships, particularly music festival relationships, because a music festival gives you 3 days to cook, gives you tens of thousands of people to introduce a brand to. And I'm either going to know an artist, a DJ, or a manager, somebody from several different groups. So we would literally look at festivals and be like, who's on this show? Well, I know this dude, that. Andy's like, I know the manager. I know this guy. We would pinpoint and target artists that we had relationships with to get the burger to them. And it was never an issue about, I hope they like it. I'll be very honest. I never really, once we did the first pop-up, I wanted to know if people liked it like I liked it. Because I was like, maybe it's just me. But after the first pop-up, and I saw people like, I ain't never had nothing like this before. I was like, okay, it is what I think it is. It's exactly what we think this burger is. So I had no hesitation to put it in anybody's hands, anybody's face, and offer it to anybody live on camera and ask them, like, if it's trash, tell me it's trash. But I've never had anybody like, this is not my type.
Is this like guerrilla marketing? Like, how similar is this to like marketing a record?
Oh, I mean, I literally treated it. I didn't have any food experience, right? So the only experience I had
Isn't
in
this
sales
crazy?
was in music.
No food experience to best burger in America.
Love it.
And so what I did was I treated the burger like an album. So going to music festivals, the same concept, right? Mass settings, opportunity to introduce yourself the same way a brand new artist would be at a festival. And it would cost a younger artist to be a part of a festival. It costs us to feed people at these festivals. And in our mind, we didn't necessarily have to make money. If we didn't lose money, it was worth it because we could get residual benefit from these testimonials. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we just started targeting different things and different people, and it just started to kind of like take this upward trajectory of people wanting to be involved with the burger. And by the time we got to Khaled, who probably one of the biggest promotional faces and voices you could have in this world right now, and I tried several times to get Khaled to eat the burger on camera. I had it probably about 3 Grammys ago. We did burgers. We partnered with H Wood Group, and we did food at Delilah's. And I was like, Khaled, you in town? Come through. He's like, nah, because I got my suit on. I don't want to eat it in this nice suit. We were at golf courses in Florida. I was catering for Reggie Jackson's celebrity golf tournament. He was with Jordan down the road. I was like, drive up and get the burger. He's like, nah, I don't want to. I'm not doing that. So I said, I know what to do. I called him and I said, yo, I want to come to the house. I want to come to the house and bring you this burger. Let's do it. I'm absolutely ready. And far and away, probably the best testimonial we got from DJ Khaled was like, no lie, I could eat like 5 of these. Like, and that audio clip ended up for the next 4 months on every food post on TikTok and social media.
Because it's authentic. Because
Yes.
it's like, it's a thing where he's like, he's not doing it because you guys are friends. He's doing it because this shit is actually good.
Yeah.
It's like the quality is so high.
The access to him is built around the friendship.
Yeah.
But the response for all of these have always been authentic. So we've been able to get a lot of energy and a lot of motion just having real authentic relationships with people. I have a lot of people that not only I'm friends with, but I've been supporters of, in a few instances, some would say mentor to some of these people. So them coming by, like Drake coming to the restaurant, that's reciprocation.
Yep.
It's like, you've always been there for me. I see what you got going. I want to make sure I'm there for you, type of thing. And we've understood the value of that. And it's gotten us a lot of traction, and it's gotten us a lot of energy and motion for momentum.
I'm curious your perspective. You've been in Houston for 21 years, 22 years at this point?
20 years.
25. So you came what, 04?
Came in 05.
05.
05, so
04. Yeah, 04.
2021.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was, and I don't want to get off track, but that was that 2003 season, right?
Oh, we'll get there. We'll get there. But I'm curious your perspective. Like, we're sitting in Barron Studios, one of Bun Studios in Houston. How much of this also is like, almost like talk about the city of Houston overall? And it's like, you've been here and you haven't left. And you could live wherever you want in the world. And some of that is because of what is built in this market, in this culture, and how that supports, both the burgers, but then also One Basketball League, all the other things you're doing, and why that is sort of like why we're here. Why you've decided to kind of stay here, and what it sort of entails with what he's built.
I think for me, growing up in Florida, my whole life, and I left at 18 years. I left at 18 and graduated in North Carolina. And then I went to school just that one season up in North Carolina, but then went off to Toronto for 3 years. But even after my Toronto season, I come back to Florida, right? So I really got tired of living in Florida, played my Magic years there. And growing up there, I just felt like I needed change. I needed to get away because where I grew up and where the Magic, it's only 30 minutes away.
Yeah.
So I'm around family and people that I grew up, with, all the time. So moving to Houston was a different change for me. I think I had just my daughter at the time. I had her in 2003, so I started a family. And once I started having kids, I realized this is going to be, my home and where I'm going to live and where I'm going to build my business and everything. This is my life. I didn't really know much about the city of Houston. Bro, where I'm from, I grew up, it's only 10,000 people where I grew up. We got one high school. We got one elementary school. So I'm in a whole different world when I come to Houston and see how big this city is and see the diversity of this city, which, blew my mind. I'm seeing everything, all the different foods, the different languages. Like, bro, it's over 147 different languages in Houston. Bro. The diversity is amazing. I've never seen anything like. Now, Toronto has diversity as well, but here in Houston was just opened my eyes up to a whole nother thing. Business-wise, right? I started thinking business-wise, the real estate that I started getting into around here. Just coming from Toronto where real estate is extremely high, but I come to Houston and real estate is not, that expensive. And being able to afford certain things, I'm looking around and seeing. I remember when I was fresh in Houston and I used to ride around the city with Ime Udoka. He used to take me to all these places, all his real estate places. I used to look around and like, damn, bro, you own this too? You own this? Like, I couldn't believe it because I wasn't in that mind frame at the time. I'm young. I'm still at the height of my career, and I wasn't thinking of what he was showing me. So I was learning so much about this city and really just taking in of what I can do to shape my brand business-wise, personally, and and seeing what Bun has been doing around here and all these guys, what they're doing in the city of Houston really gave me inspiration to stay here and build, here with my family. And I don't see myself leaving. I actually just bought 75 acres out in Fulshire.
Oh, so you're not leaving.
Fulshire.
So you're not
That's
leaving.
what we're looking for.
Yeah,
man.
You're not leaving.
No, I'm not going anywhere because everything is going out to Katy area, like that Fulshire, Katy area. And I purchased 75 acres, so I'm not going anywhere. Time soon.
When you look back, I was actually going to ask you this. When you look back at your high school years, and if you're Tracy in 2024 or 2025, what do you feel like is different between your experience back then? Obviously, the NBA rules are different, so you might have gone to college. The process may have been different.
Might have gone to college. You see what they getting in college?
Yeah, you would have gone to college for 4 years.
Definitely would have.
So what's different? So a little like so hypothetically. If you're in that space where you are the exact same player, exact same family setup, what's different?
Yeah, it's. I think you really look at your options of college and where I can be, my best and where I can develop. For me, because I came out of high school, so my lens is going to be different because had I went 1 year, I was still coming out. I probably still would have came out after that 1 year. But how I'm looking at it is like, damn, if they're making 2.5 and as a freshman, at where I probably would have been coming in as a freshman, I probably would have milked that. You know what I'm saying?
Stayed a couple of years, right?
Man, I just saw Cooper Flagg was making $28 million.
I saw that too. I don't know if that's true. I'm like, that's a crazy number.
I know he was with New Balance.
Yeah.
Right? I know he was with New Balance. That deal was like $13 million. So these are multi-year deals, but man, if you're making $28 million at that type of...
You ain't leaving.
I ain't going nowhere. I'm not... Why is it a rush to get to the NBA? Yeah. If I can make this at this level for 4 years, maybe 5 years?
Well, that was the whole point, right? Of fighting to get into the major leagues of sports is because that's where the money was. Right? So you would suffer through things and programs maybe that you didn't even really want to be a part of, but that was the pathway.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To the money. You had to do this and be seen as that, to be courted a certain way to get to the money. But there's a direct path now.
Yeah.
Like everything that stopped y'all from capitalizing off of your talent at that age is wide open. I'm curious as to what program you would have chose.
I was going to Kentucky.
So that wouldn't change.
100%. Yeah, I was going to say, they're still cutting the check.
That wouldn't have changed.
That's what I was going to ask.
That wouldn't have changed.
Would the program that you would have chose then still have viability for you now?
Did you see what they just gave?
Yeah.
Kentucky is one of the schools.
You might come back.
They're one of the schools that have
Still
given out
Kentucky.
$20 million to their players this summer.
Yeah.
I would have went to Kentucky. They're loaded. That's basketball country.
It's a funny one. You've been in Kentucky for 3 years. You'd have been like, you would have milked it as long as possible.
For sure. And you know what's crazy? My rookie year is the year, which would have been my freshman year at Kentucky. We won a championship. I would have been a college champion.
Who was on that team?
I want to say like Jamal McGlure, Tayshaun Prince, I think was on there.
Oh, that would have been an all-time stacked.
Yeah.
That's an all-time stacked college team if you're there.
Yeah.
No, that would have been legacy
Jamal
though.
McGlure, Jamal McGlure was on there. Tayshaun Prince, Wayne Turner. I think Tubby Smith's son was on there. I think Tubby Smith was a coach. Rick Pitino had left, and it was his first year in Boston.
Here's a question. I've talked about this with a bunch of the current guys, and it's a little bit of a, you can sort of argue both sides. I'm curious both your guys' perspective on this with the NIL stuff. Obviously, it's good the players are being paid, and it's good that the system before was completely fucked.
For sure.
And it just made no sense.
And it still is.
Yeah, and it still is. My question is the impact you think it's going to have on guys going to NBA locker rooms when they are used to the lessons that they learned in college with the sort of, however you want to call it, the humility that was sort of like born into them in college when they're coming in with already having made $28 million, and then all of a sudden they got to sit for 2 years. But you look at some of these guys, like we did an episode a couple months ago with Pascal and Nemhart. Pascal didn't start playing organized basketball until he was 18.
Yeah.
He went to San Diego State. No one gave a fuck. Like, Pascal was not recruited by anybody. He had a chip on his shoulder, almost like a fighter because of that. And he basically was like, if I was, he's not saying like if I was paid in college, I would have been, worse. But he's saying that like some of that drive came from the fact that he was doubted.
Yeah.
And I am curious how you think that impact is going to.
So I have this talk amongst my guys because I think some guys, will it affect them in terms of their drive, right? If I'm a kid that's been starving, and I don't know a lot of these kids' situation coming up, but I know if these kids are starving and they get to college and they're like the elites of the elites, right? Let's say they're one of the top players, they get in that 2.5. Now, some of these kids, it'll affect them in a way where they just feel comfortable. I got my chicken. I'm going to relax. I'm good for the next 4 years, right? I don't care about going to the NBA. I know I can make it, but hell, I'm making 2.5 this year. Maybe next year I get a bigger deal. I'm making $5 million in college. So before you leave college, you probably done made $25 million, $30 million. So some of the kids, I think it affect in terms of their drive to get to that next level. But then you got those kids that just purely love the fucking game of basketball, and that money shit don't even matter to them, right? They can make the $5 million per season, but they still got their drive. They still coming in early. They still want to be coachable, right? They're still doing all the necessary things to get better individually to make it to that next level, and so on. Yeah,
it's about what the end game is, right? Like some dudes like, I have to get this money. I have to change the pathway of my family. I have to create generational wealth, and all that's good. Some people like, yeah, I'm going to get that, but I need that chip.
Yeah.
Like the money's cool. All of that's fine. We're going to have a nice quality of life, but
sure.
I really want to play this game at the highest level against people playing at the highest level, and I would love to beat them in that game. Yeah. That's how I am as an artist, as a rapper, right? We all live pretty good lives. But I'm 52 years old. I still want to be the best rapper in the room if I choose to walk in that room.
Yeah.
I'm a prime example though. I came out of high school, right? Nobody in my family made over $40,000 growing up. So financial literacy didn't know anything about that. So a high school kid is in the NBA locker room. I'm the highest paid player in the NBA. in my locker room with the Toronto Raptors. I'm the highest paid player because of my Adidas contract, not my NBA contract, because of my Adidas contract. So my endorsement deals, I'm eclipsing all these guys in my locker room. But come from the number one player in the nation to a rookie, and I'm sitting my ass on the bench. You know what I'm saying? So that transformation for me was very difficult. But I'm the highest paid player, didn't stop my drive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I steady wanted to get better and was working on my craft.
How did you, looking back on that experience now, and you've talked about this a little bit, but just how did you manage it emotionally?
You got the support system, you know, and what is your purpose? Like, you got to have purpose. I had purpose. And when you know you have purpose and what you're doing this for every day, ain't nothing slowing you down, bro. There's nothing slowing you down. I promise you that. And, you know, I always fall back on that. So, you know, every little bump that I hit, why are you doing this, Mac? All right, I know why I'm doing this now. Get your ass up. Let's get it. So there's nothing that can interfere with where I was trying to go. Nothing.
Thanks to DraftKings for sponsoring the show. The NBA Finals are here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is pulling out all the stops to make this a finals to remember. And here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Richie, I'm in Indy right now, going to Game 3 tonight. I was looking at the series props on DraftKings for three-pointers made. Aaron Wiggins right now is a plus 3,000. He's fifth behind Neesmith, Ludort, Tyrese at 210, Shai at plus 2,000, and Wiggins plus 3,000. Wiggins hit 5 threes, obviously. Last game, he sort of swung the game for them in the second quarter. I kind of am interested in that as pretty good value on that particular prop. Don't miss your last chance to bet on the NBA this season. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code YOUNGMAN. That's code YOUNGMAN for new customers to get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Minimum minus 500 odds required. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
The endgame thing is really interesting because there's a total parallel to the music industry.
And it changes for me as life changes and your perspective changes, right? So what was in game for me at 18, right? Money, car, the girl, the fame, right? I turned 28, 30 years old. Now I'm in love with a woman. We're getting ready, we're building this family and all that. Perspective changes. Now I'm 52. I have 6 grandchildren. Everything has shifted now, right? I live a completely selfless life. Like nothing I do is for me, right? Because I'm probably not going to be the one that gets to enjoy all of this. But I can build that money and financial structure, but I still have to teach these children to understand these things too. So I take my kids to vacation, but I also take my kids to protest. My grandkids walk with me for George Floyd. They have to see other things. They have to know other things in this world. And so now for me, all the fun and big, nice, fancy stuff, we've done all of that. Like now it's about them seeing me trying to affect real change in this world. Because if I build this company the way I believe I can build this company, they're going to be left with enough money to impact their communities in whatever way they want to impact, whether that's good or bad. But they're going to have that power. So I'm trying to live a life now because I know they're watching specifically that a life that they can kind of follow because they can't make the music. They may not make the burger, but they can follow the path that I've laid out culturally.
I'm curious with both you guys, when you were, when you're in this period in the whatever early 20s, mid 20s, early 30s, where you're still in the true strive for greatness, competitive, I want to kill everybody in front of me path. And with your process, obviously you're doing 2 totally different things. You're writing music, you're hooping. Were there specific things that you would just always come back to and sort of lean back? I'm always interested with different people's process and almost like their happy place, like how they get back to the thing that makes them great. For you, it's in the lab, in the gym. For you, it's in here. But were there specific things that you would always kind of lean on?
I mean, I would imagine preparation more than anything, trying to be more prepared for the scenario than anybody else. I operated in a world of words. So in order to be the best in a world of words, you have to be well read, right? You have to read more words. You have to see the context and the usage of words, things that affect different situations, homonyms, all this type of stuff, right? Because that's the world that I'm dealing in, is contorting language to fit whatever it is I need to do. And so for me, I always felt that all the best people that were writing, the common theme to them was reading. They all were extremely well read. They could always recommend 3-4 books off their hat. And they spoke different. And not that they knew more, but they'd seen more, they'd read more, and they'd understood how words can really truly be used and the power of the words. And I felt like that was something that I had over people, because rap in the very earliest days wasn't really about making money. Like, most dudes weren't rich when I started rapping. So you really, if you didn't want to be the best rapper, you really shouldn't even be here for that. But then the best rappers started to accumulate levels of wealth. So now I got to figure out, first, I got to show people I'm valid. I'm supposed to be here. I've earned that right. And then I've got to be able to compete against the other people, which for you guys comes naturally because it's in the schedule.
Yeah.
But for me, you got to build relationships to even get in the room with people. And it's almost like boxing, because if a dude know you can rap better than him, he'll duck you for years. Like, he will not try to get on a record with you, especially if he's known for being really good at rapping. But everybody gets to a point where they're never going to think I'm that dude until I rap against him.
Yeah.
Or them. They're never going to give me any kind of credit, because I'm just dope in my own space, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm the king of my high school, right? I'm the king of the county, right? Everybody's the shit in high school. Then you go to college, the dynamic shifts. And if by God's grace you make it to the pro, it's even more shifted. You see, I always watch like NFL players talk about how much different the speed of the game gets. You know what I'm saying? As you get higher up in the echelon of sports. It's the same thing for us, man. The turnaround, when you talk about speed, you can look at the Drake and Kendrick situation, how quickly two of the best writers or recorders were turning product over. I've been in the studio with dudes, it take 2-3 days sometimes for somebody to come up with 16 bars. I'm done in 15 minutes.
In the range, though, they were going.
Were you surprised?
Knowing
everybody involved in this, were you surprised at how at the quality of product and the speed of what was happening?
The speed was never an issue, because one, they both operate in systems, right, that are designed to be productive for them. So the idea of having like a guy here, like if I was in something like that, Dre would be on standby, right? The engineer, I'm pointing to the engineer off camera. But Dre would be on standby. And if I wanted to come in, and then I'd have to talk to Tom and be like, look, I need 24-hour blocks of this studio, right? I need 24-hour blocks. So in case this dude say something at 7, I need to be in here at 7:30. I need to put this back out at 9. Like, you just have to be prepared, because it gets so personal.
Yeah.
Right? Like, these things get very, very personal. And we're all captains of our respective industries in our houses. So, yeah, you're shooting at me, but there's 20 people behind me and 30 people behind them, and they're all getting residual damage from this. So, no, it doesn't surprise me at all. They're both billion-dollar systems. TDE and OVO are both billion-dollar systems. You know what I'm saying? So you can't play with that like that. Like, you literally cannot fuck around when those things are done.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the preparation of what he was saying, because when you look around in our era, I might be biased, but I think we had, early 2000s probably the best brand of basketball, honestly. From you look at the players, you look at the style of play, big men. Like, in today's game, you don't see the type of wings that we had. You don't see the Paul Pierces, the Vince Carters, the AIs, the T-Macs. Like, you don't see that in today's game. I think I forgot Kobe as well. Can't leave Kobe. But going into the offseason, you always fall on back into your preparation, because somebody's like Kobe, KG, Dirk, all these boys, like, they're in their lab working on their craft. Like, this is all we did. Kobe didn't take no vacations like that. Like, if he had a disappointing season, I know what he's doing. So at that time, I can't be on vacation, taking my all this time off and relaxing on the beach and not working on my shit, because that's one of the coldest motherfuckers to ever play the game, and I gotta see him. And people in the barbershop is talking, who's better, T-Mac? I ain't got, no, bro. I got something I gotta live up to, because the conversation, my name is in this conversation.
Yeah.
So I gotta be prepared for, an 82-game season, but I gotta be prepared for certain matchups, because I know those matchups is what's gonna determine how I'm viewed out here in the people's eyes. So I gotta be aware of this shit.
So with Kobe in particular, you guys obviously both had a relationship with him. He mentioned you as, the hardest guy he had to defend in the league. When you were sort of preparing for these battles, he could do everything. Were there particular things you were like, I got to do this specifically because I know he's going to exploit?
So when you're playing against a dynamic player like that, you got to have a game plan, right? So I go in saying I'm taking certain things away. You're not gonna get me with this. I'm sitting on this. I'm sitting on this particular move and what you're gonna do, right? I'm sitting on that. Now you might hit me with something different. It might be a move, but you might add a counter or something to it. But there's certain things that I'm going in that I'm just sitting on and I'm waiting on it. You're not gonna stop him. He's shooting that bitch 30 times.
He gonna get something, right?
He gonna get something, but I think it's just going in with that mindset and with a game plan that, all right, you're going to sit on, because he's going to do the move, right? And I'm going to be prepared for it. I know his footwork and everything because we worked out together. So I'm sitting on certain things that kind of take something away from this guy.
So you mentioned the working out together, and I'm curious how you think this has changed over time, because I think different guys have different perspectives on this in terms of the summer stuff, in terms of the workouts, in terms of like the gamesmanship of like, I want you to, not like I want you to know what I'm doing, but I'm comfortable with you knowing what I'm doing versus like, I'm going to go lock myself in a hole and you're going to find out on October 15th. That's
me. I lock myself in the gym without nobody knowing. But the reason I worked out with Kobe, because we both were Adidas and we took a trip to Paris. So while we were over there, we just started working out together. But when I got back here, nobody is seeing what I'm doing. Like, I'm in the gym locked up. You ain't going to see me till preseason. I don't play any pickup basketball. I do all skill training. No pickup basketball. I do all skill training. And then when it's training camp, that's when you get to see, what I've been working on.
You knew Kobe a bit as well, right?
I met him a couple of times in passing. I wouldn't say I knew him very well, but Kobe took a lot of delight in coming to the city and doing what Kobe does. I was a recipient of the shrug before. I literally wanted to. It was a playoff game. And we were doing good that day. Like we had it down to maybe 10 points or so, 12 points. He was having a really rough start. And so obviously I'm on the floor. I'm like, this is my Spike Lee moment, right? This is my Spike Lee moment. So I'm talking shit, right? I'm talking shit. And then at one point I say something and he looks at me. He looks right at me. That man hit three-pointers. Right in front of me, like purposely coming to the spot in front of me, hitting it, and I put the battery in that man's back. Like if I'd have been quiet, we might have had
you shook the tree, dog.
And the series was over from that point on. It was like, okay, now not only am I here for y'all, I'm here for you too. You know what I'm saying? And I take that kind of mentality into the game too. Like when I want people to know that I'm bringing you the best, because I'm like you. I listen to everybody's albums. I watch everybody's videos. I listen to everybody's flows. And there are tendencies, even lyrically, there are tendencies that, things that people will typically fall back on. And so you just have to know that that's what they're going to do and just be one step ahead of it. If you know their thing is rapping fast, you can't rap faster than them, then you've got to put more complexity into the song in other ways. You know what I'm saying? You just have to find out what it is that they do well. And if you can't do that better than them, then do something that will gain more attention on the record.
Has that happened with you? Where someone is shaking the tree and you've just
all the time.
I mean, I know it's happened, but what's an example that you still think about?
Mine was physical though. It wasn't that somebody said something. Mine was physical. Kenya Martin at the time. That's my dude too. I love Kenya. I love the way he played. I wish I had played with that motherfucker, but he had a tendency of hard fouling, tough guy shit. And he fouled me one time in his phase of fouling people hard. And I pump fake one time and he jumped up and he came down on me like this, right on top of my head. And from that point on, bro, I just had, every time I seen Kenya Martin, I just 46 piece, 40 piece. Like, it was just mental, like the notes that I took that I got every time I see you. It's personal.
Yeah.
It's personal. I love the dude. It's personal.
I'm curious. I'm like curious about this with guys like you. And by the way, this is like, sometimes it's other players, sometimes it's coaches, sometimes it's fans. It's like, I feel like from a fan perspective, the best thing they can do is just leave you alone.
Yeah.
Like, just be like, when you have someone who's like, I'm going to put 50 on your head if you piss me off, just leave them alone. Like, don't poke the bear, because if you poke the bear, it's over.
Certain guys got that switch. You know what I mean? Like, it might be a day where I feel like 30 today. I feel like 30 today. You know what I mean? We gonna win this shit. I feel like 30. That y'all ain't really, giving me that juice that you really want this tonight. So I'm gonna give you a 30. But then when you start chirping, or somebody on the sideline start chirping, now you start waking those juices up. It's like, all right, I'm starting to get focused. And that 30 turns into a 45 piece.
Outside of Kobe, sort of obvious, who else did you feel like on the other side of things had that switch where you were like, there's probably a party that likes the idea of going head to head, but also just like in the interest of winning the game, you're like, leave him alone.
Yeah, Vince had that switch. He was such a tough cover because he jumped so fucking high on his shot and his fadeaways and all that stuff. He definitely had that switch. But Paul Pierce is one that you talk shit to him and it's on tape. But he was doing some of the guys. You see what he did to Ron Artest when he was talking shit. Tried to pull his pants down to stop him from running out. He still hit a fucking 3 in his face. Like, he was one of those dudes that if you're gonna chirp at him, just make sure you're on top of your game too, because you're waking him up.
Do you have some of your peers who you are like? I feel like everybody has their level of respect they have for you is so high that you maybe don't have to sort of deal with this on a personal level, but you just look at it as like a contemporary of just like, don't fuck with that dude.
I have an interesting relationship. These are like some of my best friends in the industry, but the industry would always kind of pit UGK against A-Ball and MJG.
Because it's the South.
Right. But there was never any level of competitive. There was high levels of respect. They were very good friends. At one point, I literally lived like a block away from the Swaff House Studios. I would see these guys 2-3 times a week. But there's a pecking order when you're on tour and you're on shows.
Mm-hmm.
And there may be certain cities where we'll talk and be like, hey, we're going to Memphis this weekend. Y'all are closing, right? Or we like, y'all going to Houston. We're going to Houston, so y'all going to close. But every now and then you'll have a promoter be like, no, I like this person. I want that person. And be like, oh, you want them to close? Okay, all right. Put me on before them. And then I go out there and I do 3 songs that maybe we don't do. And we, you know what I'm saying? And we blow the roof off that joint and we make it very hard for someone to come on after us.
Yeah.
But someone like an A-Ball and MJG, it doesn't matter who closes. Like, we're still feeding the same beast, the same food. You know what I'm saying? So if UGK and 3-6 Mafia or A-Ball and MJG are all on the show, the end result's going to be pretty much the end result.
Did anybody send shots your way where y'all had to respond?
Not really like rap shots.
Yeah.
It was more like personality conflicts. Like, certain people just didn't get along with each other type of thing. But nobody, I never had anybody feel like they could say something to me on a rap record and that was just going to be that. Like, you were not going to win that. So we really didn't get tested in that way. And then Pimp was on the production.
He really wasn't gonna win
no. And it's still like that. Like, I do an album every year, but this year will be the 5th year. It's called Trill Static. And we don't do it for money or anything. I try to get all the best young rappers, particularly independent rappers, like some of the hungriest dudes in the game. Like they currently out there scratching, trying to make their way. I'm giving them an opportunity to get on a song with me. Bring your best. You know what I'm saying? Up against the best. And it's pushing them. Now, at the same time, it's pushing me because I'm inviting you into my studio, but I'm not inviting you in here to whoop me. Right. I would never have created that scenario. But I do like, metal sharpens metal. You know what I'm saying? So I try to stay on my toes because I still get booked for shows. And now I'm older act. I may get booked in the middle of the show as opposed to later on in the show. But I still got those records and I still have that energy and I still want it.
So let's have this conversation because when I talk to some of these guys in basketball, and a lot of these guys spending their time in the G League, for me, I think it's a waste of time. Because the G League is not really paying money like that. I think was $25,000, $35,000 or what they're paying or something like that versus going overseas where you can make a real good living, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Even some leagues are paying $1 million. I'm curious to what is your advice to a lot of these young up and coming rappers where it's not that much money in rap in the rap business?
Well, you'd be surprised. So right now, if you're an artist, this is the best time in the history of creating music that has ever been.
Is it because of streaming?
It's because of ownership.
And explain that.
So there was the only way that you could put an album out and make money off of music is if somebody spent money to go into a recording studio, pay for the recording of the album, pay for the mixing, the mastering, and all of that. And then someone would have to then get that music into a distributor who would then sell it to the stores and get it to the people. So you had to go through several hands just for your product to get to people. Now it's direct.
Okay.
So I would have to convince people to go into a record store and buy one album one time. That's the profit. They buy that album, that's the profit.
Right.
Now, I don't even have to release it. And there's one place, it's the only place you can get that music was in the record store.
Yep.
One place, one revenue stream. I can release one record now through 12, 14 different revenue streams and make more money off of that one record than I would make off of an album. Most artists don't have to make an album if they really don't want to.
Just
if the bass isn't begging you for that, you don't really have to do it. And if you're doing this stuff at home, like I said, you used to have to go to a recording studio. You buy a MacBook, you got GarageBand.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's so much easier to create music, record music. People are literally, there's a model now where people are putting beats online. You give me $100 and you can have my beat, right? The rights will revert at a certain point. If it goes big, I may ask for 10% or something like that. Like the dude that produced, what was it, Lil Nas X record, Old Town Road or whatever?
Yeah.
He paid like $100 for that beat.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
He paid $100 for that beat. I mean, look at Squid Game.
That's one of the great investments.
He paid $100 for that beat. Now, does he own that?
He owns the beat primarily. Now, because the other guy produced it, there's still writers that's involved in it. But he's going to make the majority off the money off that record.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying? And that's a real model. Now, the idea for the producer is I give this record away damn near. It gets placed. My sound is now the it sound. Record companies, artists, everybody's going to want to get another track from me. That's sort of what you hope.
Especially at first, because once you're Metro, once you're established, then all of a sudden the rate will go up.
Absolutely.
So then you can just be like, all right, well, I had these 4 hits already. So
absolutely.
My question is, because the other thing I was going to say to your point is like with TikTok, with all these other sort of ways of having the stuff hit the jet stream. Like I have a couple friends who put out music in like 2012 or something like that wasn't popular. And then all of a sudden one day they wake up and it's blowing up on TikTok. And they didn't even do anything.
TikTok
it wasn't even like they tried to do it. It just is a random thing where it like arbitrarily will happen.
They bring you back to life.
But you can't target that.
Yeah.
Right? That's not something that I couldn't come in here and say, all right, Dre, let's make something to go viral.
Yeah.
You have no control over that because it's a lot of times, like there's a song called Young Hearts, right? It was a record that a woman made probably 30, 40 years ago. And it was about an abusive relationship. That was her real story. Like her husband had beat her, kidnapped her, and all this type of stuff. And she made this song basically telling young girls, don't jump into marriage, go out, live your life, and do all of that. It went viral on things that had nothing to do with relationships, nothing to do with assaults and, domestic violence or anything. So my wife is on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok. My wife, and I kept hearing the song. And I'm like, what kind of tragic shit are you watching on TikTok that this song is being used on? Like, how many domestic assault videos are you watching?
Right. Yeah.
And she's like, no, this is a woman cleaning her kitchen. Why is this song the soundtrack to this woman? But it went viral. All of these things go viral. There was a guy who made a song called Atmosphere or something. And the song went, now here's what's happening. I'll tell you this. These songs go viral and people try to capitalize off of it. And it doesn't really work. So there was a guy that had a song called Atmosphere. It was on everything for a while. And he was like, yeah, I'm not releasing any more music. This was fun. I'm glad you guys like it. But you don't like it because of the intended reason I wanted you to like it. So I'll take the money, but I'm just going to chill. Because it don't make sense for him to make music because they don't really like him.
Yeah.
You know?
And some sense in some scenarios, like what's my guy, LA, is it Young and Ace? That Ain't I? Like they brought him back, right? He went viral. His song Ain't I went viral. Now, as an artist that his shine is gone away, but they brought him back. Now, do you go on tour for you going viral? How do you capitalize off of that? That your song now is brought back and it's going viral.
If the song in itself was just a one-hit wonder, like it's not like you had this huge career, 3-4 albums, but this was your signature hit record, you can come back. There'll be a newfound
energy
around you and your career and all of the things that you've done. But if it's one song that was, like a little dance hit record or whatever for a while, and then that song comes back, you can get some shows, right? You'll pop up at some stuff and people be like, we got a special guest you guys ain't know. Bring out so-and-so, and they do. I was just in New York yesterday, and it was a concert. It was like a free block party in Bushwick, and they brought out like Smith & Wesson. They came out, done 2 or 3 songs that are big records in New York, right? And then Kid Royal Flush. Those songs can work in a moment.
Yeah, okay, right? I got you.
But the idea of resurrecting you can't resurrect a career that wasn't there.
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
If you didn't really have a career before,
you're not gonna pop off just because
there could be a resurgence.
Yeah. You get a little shine.
But the older the record is, the further you are away from the core fan base that you were making the music for in the first place. Like, I got a lot of fans that like my music, but there's no direct line to them because most of them on Facebook, they're not on this, they're not on TikTok, so I can't take advantage of a lot of that.
Yeah.
But for the burgers, all of this stuff works. Everything that's in the viral space, it all works.
And everyone's got to eat.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 3 most eaten food in America is cheeseburger.
I want to ask you about the I'm sure you're sick of talking about it, but the 13 and 30 seconds.
33.
33.
33.5, I want to say.
Can you walk us through Can you just walk us through the entire process?
You don't know how Houston this is right now. I just want to say, you don't know how Houston this is.
Just set it up.
Man. So, in-state rival, San Antonio Spurs, team that's won 5 championships. Every time we play them, it's just a great vibe, great atmosphere. It's always great competition when the Spurs come to town. It's a battle. They're a great defensive team. So I was struggling, shooting the ball that game for 3 quarters. But we still were in the game. And fourth quarter come, we 35 seconds left, bro. I don't know what came over. You know what I mean? I literally don't know what came over. And it should have been more points than that because Bruce Bowen was fouling me every time I put the ball on the floor, right? So, first shot, get the ball at the top of the key, raise up, shoot a 3 in his face, right? Now, mind you, while all of this is taking place, there's thousands of people leaving, walking out this joint. You was there?
I wasn't there, but you can see it on TV.
No,
you can see it on TV.
Yeah.
They're walking
also,
out.
low-scoring game.
Yeah,
I was just rewatching. It was like 80-70. It was like 80-72 or something. Yeah. It was like it was a super.
When we played each other, that was the era of our basketball back then. But especially when we two play, because we're great defensive teams, and it's the slower, possessions. We both got big man, so we got to throw the ball in the yaw. They got to throw the ball in the TD. But yeah, man, so I really don't know what came over me. It was just the will trying to win this game. I think when you look back at it, it's just the resilience that was shown in that moment of not shooting the ball well, but my teammates still, relied on me to will us to a victory. And once I hit that second shot, which was a 4-point play on Tim Duncan, I knew I wasn't missing no more. Because NBA players, you may not think, and I'm sure you're probably talking to JJ Redish crazy, like guys can not have their supreme confidence throughout the whole game. Like sometimes you lose like, damn, I ain't really feeling it right now. My shot don't feel good. And you hesitant on some shots. So you lose a bit of that oomph that you have as a player. But when I hit that 4-point play, I got all my juice. All my superpowers just came back, and I'm like, I ain't missing no more.
Well, this is so my question when we were talking about doing this episode, it was when the Pacers, we'll talk about that in a bit, but the Pacers have had a couple of these games in this playoff run where they basically just like the phrase I would use is almost like they like black out. Like the game one in New York, that game's over. And then all of a sudden Nesmith, who's their 5th best 3-point shooter, just goes crazy. And so talk about that experience. I mean, you and I love Nesmith. You guys are not the same thing. You know what I mean? You blacking out versus him blacking out is a little bit of a different thing. But there is a mentality of like, oh, I got the San Antonio Spurs across from me and they can't stop me from doing whatever I want right now.
That comes from what we do in the offseason. That preparation that we were talking about, right? It's putting in that type of work. Not just going in the gym and just putting up shots. Like it's a way of how I work, of quality work. You know what I mean? Going to my spots in situations where if we need a bucket, I know if I get to the spot, I'm going to get this bucket. So if you go back to that game, even on my last 3, the game-winning shot, I'm coming up the court. I'm looking the whole time, trying to get to my spot. I'm looking to get to that spot and rise up because it ain't shit you could do. Once I get up in the air, because I jump extremely high on my jump shot, you can't affect my jump shot. It's always just goes back to the preparation and being ready for those moments. And you just don't know when it's going to happen. And, you treat the game right, the basketball God's going to bless you, man. And that was just an out-of-body experience. And you couldn't lock me in the gym to do that again.
I see it all in my head, like the turnover being so close. They could have very easily stepped out of bounds. Very easily on that last turnover. They could have it's like not even an inch, bro. And I'm like, if he get there, if they don't foul him, they let him shoot this bitch, he's going to hit it.
Now let shoot. Bruh, no one touched this cat. So when he fell down and the ball rolled to me, we about to win this bitch. We about to be blessed by the basketball gods because it's working and it's like it's all coming together. We were told out of the timeout, do not foul, right? So they take the ball, they give it to Devin Brown. You don't foul, he slips and falls. And the ball rolls to me. I just hit 3 threes in a 4-point play. It's over.
This is the thing. People say this. He's been on the show a couple times, but opponents say this about Steph too, and it's sort of the similar thing where it's like all you got to do is pray. It's like he gets to his spot, just pray. Like you can't affect it.
Can't do nothing.
You can't affect it. There's nothing you can do about it. So you just got to hope something in your wrist, something goes off a little bit that affects it because there's no way you can.
They got to blow it at that point.
Yeah.
At that point, they got to blow it in the moment because you can't stop the momentum at that point.
And that momentum is real in sports. It's real. And at that point, it was real.
What was your experience? It was obviously a different point in your career, but your experience in that Spurs, with that Spurs culture like?
Man, you know what? I love seeing a championship culture, which I've never seen, my 15 years, I've never seen a championship culture. Never been around that. I did not, like even our Rocket scenes, we didn't have a championship team. We had a championship team the year I got hurt. We had Ron Artest.
Oh, the 08?
08, 09.
With Scola.
I had microfracture surgery. That was our championship team.
That was a good team.
That was a damn good
great team, bro.
That was a damn. We would have won. we would have played for a championship. I'm not going to go as far as say we would have won a championship, but I know in my mind we would have played for a championship because the year I got hurt, we went 7 games against the Lakers. I didn't play. Y'all got hurt in like game 3, and we took them to 7 games. So I know that was our year, and I think the Lakers ended up playing the chip that year, if I'm not mistaken. Just seeing, superstars being coached, being bought into their coach's system, holding everybody accountable. And I'm talking about the vibe from when you first walk into the arena, like the staff members, like you feel like you're around championship, like a championship organization, everybody. And I was amazed how coachable and, what Pop instilled in these guys and how he coached these guys. And they just sat back and ate everything that he said. Like, didn't come back at him, wasn't combative, wasn't, trying to get his point across or pointing out. Tim Duncan would sit there and take it, and whatever Pop says or whatever Tony said, like, that shit was all translated on the basketball court as a group. And I can see why they were so fucking good.
Yeah.
Because how Pop coached Tim Duncan, Pop coached the number 15 guy on the coach. And no one was above the system. Or no one was above winning. And they all did it collectively. I love it.
It's funny. That's what, so we've done a bunch of stuff with Derek White, Boston now, but when he was in San Antonio, he got there, he played D2. He played at a culinary school, and then he transferred to Colorado. And he was a first-round pick, but, like, he just didn't get a lot of hype. Like, he was not a guy that, when he got picked, everybody was acting like he was going to come in and, change the league or anything like that. And he was the 15th. He was that guy in San Antonio, and he was like, they coached me like I was Manu.
Yeah.
And so it was it instilled that level of confidence in him to be like, and that's why he's, doing what he does now because of that.
So, coaching him that way is preparing him just in case one of these guys get hurt. Like, you're able to plug and play. And with San Antonio, man, you look out on the court sometimes, you be like, yo, where the fuck this guy come from? But he's nice. Right? He plays within the system, and he's very effective. and I'm like, yo, this is coaching. This is development. Like, everybody can't do that. I played with some guys or some coaches that they just can't develop or coach the way I've seen Coach Pop and what he does with some of these guys that you never heard of. Like, where the fuck this guy come from? You don't know nothing about him, but he out there shooting threes.
He's killing out.
He's killing.
He's killing.
This sounds so much like how people talk about Belichick in the Patriot years, right? Like, this culture of championship. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I get that. I think that's a Yankees thing too, right? Where everybody involved knows that this organization at any given time has the potential to really be great.
Yeah.
Music industry, you see it when, Lil Wayne buys into Baby and Slim, or DMX buys into Rough Riders, and, Jay-Z and Dame, they sit down and they come up with this idea, and it peters down. And so people pick up the residual benefits of this type of tutelage being put in. So that's why someone like a Cameron, who might have been third in the pecking order, still comes out with a leader mentality of how to build a brand and expand the company, because everybody's buying into the leadership. The main guy's like, this is how we need to do it. The one guy under him buys into it. They succeed. Then the number 2 and the number 3 guys like, we need to buy into this shit so we can succeed too.
That's
like,
a fast way.
The Texans are doing it right now with D'Amico, right?
Yeah.
CJ buys into it. It peters down. If the coach has a certain mentality in the locker room and the proposed leader of the team doesn't buy into it, it subverts it.
Yeah. Well, look at the Rockets. They're not good because they got great talent. Look who they're coached by. Look who he was coached by.
Yep.
Look who he was taught by. Right? Like, that shit is trickling down.
Yeah.
That toughness, right? That understanding of each possession, and that approaching the game the right way, your preparation, like, he's instilling all that shit. And look how he's on the sideline getting into it with some of the players. I'm talking about Ime. Ime is a tough motherfucker, man. And he don't take no shit. And I think his teammates, his team, players understands that. And it, I think they really embody that when they're out there on the court.
Do you guys see any of that with OKC and Indy. We're taping this Sunday. Indy won last night, so they're going to the finals. There's a lot of stuff to talk about with that, but what I'm interested in is like the super teams are dead.
The hell yeah.
And it's all depth.
Yes.
You know, OKC probably has the MVP. Or they do have the MVP, but like they have the MVP, but these teams are both 10 deep. And that's why they're here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's about the bench right now at this point. And like you said, it's that next man up mentality, right? And if the team's coached properly, then whoever needs to step in the moment is built and prepared for the moment.
Yeah.
He's running those same plays. He already knows what this team has, you know, as far as right now, this is what we're getting ready to run. You're just filling in what somebody else was. A lot of these guys would be technically starters if the talent in front of them wasn't all-star, Hall of Fame type talent.
Man, listen, I truly don't understand some of the you know, with some of these situations, some of the moves that I've been watching in the playoffs. Like, I can't imagine, especially at the pace that we're playing nowadays, 8 players, 7, 8 players in a playoff game, be dead. There's no way you can win like that because of the pace. And that's why I think we're seeing so many injuries. Number one, they don't train like we used to train, right? So, and with this pace and how they're playing, you know, I think it's really taken too much of a toll on a lot of these guys, and they're breaking down. But when I see a guy like, I'm going to Minnesota, I'm looking at a guy like Matt Garza. I don't know if you know Matt Garza. Matt Garza, I think, was averaging like 35 points in the G League. If I got a player on my team that is averaging 35 points in the G League, and I see that Rudy is struggling out here, I'm gonna give him a fucking shot to see what he could do. Because I know he can stretch the floor, he can shoot the ball, right? He's a big body. Maybe he can get us some inside presence. But I gotta test that. I'm not just gonna have that on my bench and not see what it is. And when we getting our ass kicked out here, you gotta try different things.
Yeah.
Right? Rick Carlisle, to me, is one of the best coaches in the fucking NBA. Best coaches. I play against him in the playoffs. I see what type of adjustment he's made. And he is one of those guys that build and instills confidence in guys that you couldn't even imagine coming off his bench and being productive. He did that shit this playoffs. Some of the moves that he was making.
What do you think when you watch Shai?
What I think?
Yeah.
I think he's incredible. I think, I'm not saying he's bringing it back, but because he's the MVP of the league, I think he's really put a spotlight on, we ain't got to shoot all these threes, bro. Right? We don't have to shoot all these threes. We can get here in the in-between game and make something happen. When the game gets tough, I could play around the free throw line and get to my spot. I don't have to get here or create anything off the dribble to shoot a three. Like, he's playing basketball the way Kobe played it, the way MJ played it. In between game is what I see from Shai. And he's surrounded by shooters. So if he could get to his spots, and that's why he really didn't have too many bad games, because he's not settling for threes. Ant-Man was settling for threes. That's why he was struggling. He couldn't really play in that phone booth.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, you guys, it's not an apples to apples comparison, but the thing we were talking before, with your offensive skill set, I think a word that everybody would use is smooth. And it obviously wasn't effortless, but it would look effortless. And I think Shai has a version of that.
Yeah.
Where
Fluid.
Fluid. It does not, it looks like he's not sweating. He's just getting to his spots.
That's it.
And then even the foul stuff, which, you can go back and forth on, but even that is a skill. Yeah. And his ability to do that is like he just feels like he's in complete control all the time. And I think you can probably speak on this better than almost anybody about maybe that's the work in the offseason, but getting to that point.
What's crazy is the way Shai is playing now is the way Shai played when he was with the Clippers. But nobody knew. Nobody recognized that. He was playing the same way. Now he added some shit, but he pretty much played the same way.
Is this the worst NBA trade of all time?
For sure.
Easily.
For sure. Not even close.
It's really crazy when you look at it, and the fact that they haven't even used 5 of those picks. So they could take 4 of those picks and go trade for Giannis off that.
Keep the core together.
Yeah, they probably won't do it if they win, but you're like, I've never seen anything like it.
Man, look, OKC is going to be, I seen this shit about 3 years ago. They're going to be good for a long time. Bro.
Yeah.
That organization, to be fair, has been trying to do this the right way. You know what I'm saying? They've been trying to instill the right type of, because they're all that Oklahoma has, right?
Yeah.
It's them and the Sooners, right? That's pretty much all they've got up there. And everybody buys in.
Yeah.
They're like the Green Bay of basketball, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like everybody feels like they have a dog in that race. They don't criticize their guys as much as other cities do, because it's a very small city. So you're going to see these guys in passing, right? It's very hard to avoid people in a city like Oklahoma City. But they believe in the organization. They believe the organization is trying to do the best thing it can. It's not throwing money at it. And you got somebody like Shai he just comes to work, does his job, goes home.
Their whole
Very
team
quiet,
is like that.
very humble.
Yeah.
They're not, it's not a lot of ego on it.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying? They're just winning. They were so quiet, like they just won. The fans are going crazy, but they're there to feed that beast. Like they're very selfless as an organization.
The other thing you talk about culture, like you think about Alex Caruso, when you're like, all right, your matchup is Jokic. He's got 110 pounds on you and 7 inches on you, and you just got to go figure it out in Game 7. When these young guys, when the momentum is kind of shot, and you know what, he goes out and he figures it out. Did you have a favorite Team USA moment?
Meaning
You
being
personally?
part of Team USA or just
you personally? Not even like not like a personal, but just like a story, like a time from it that you thought was just like, when you look back, you sort of hold in high regard.
I think for me, it's because I played on the USA team in 2003. We were a qualifying team. So it's me, Tim Duncan, Kenyon Martin, Vince, Karl Malone, AI, Jermaine. Like, we had a squad. We went undefeated in this shit. But I think me playing with certain players for the first time had me like looking at some of the guys that played with these guys. You lucky motherfucker. Like, look, I was looking at my cousin like that, bro. You playing with Jason Kidd and playing with Jason Kidd on that USA team and realizing how easy the game was playing with him. And I'm out here with the Magic. I'm trying to get it every possession, struggling like a motherfucker to get a bucket to get us a victory. But this man is running, and J Kidd, we just sprinting, trying to get a layup because we know where he's going to put it, right? He see it. And with my basketball mind, his basketball mind, and how we see things on the basketball court and how he's making the game so easy for us, I was like, yo, you just wish you played with a point guard like that in your career. And not to shit, I love Skip. I love playing with Skip. Love playing with Darryl Armstrong. Jason Kidd was a different animal.
It feels like this is the danger. I was with some of those guys in Paris in August. I feel like some of the danger of USA is this exact thing. It's like the exposure works both ways. It's great to have it.
Yeah.
Right. But then you're also you come back and you're like,
No, for real, man. And AI. Like playing with AI, man, and hearing the stories about AI, how he hangs out, he does this and does that, but he comes to the game and he drops 40. That was a real thing. Like, Chuck would stay out all night, but he will be ready to play at 6, 7 o'clock and have all the energy in the world. Bro, I got to get my sleep. I got to get my rest. I love to sleep. I got to get my rest. I can't be out like that and trying to come hoop
with that.
I'm not built like that. I'm just not. I love to sleep. I love the rest. I got to have my energy. Shit, when I get to the arena, slept all night, slept all day. I get to the arena, get my ankles taped. I'm taking me another nap. I'm taking another nap to get ready for the game.
I can't hate on that. I take a nap at the hotel. I get to the venue when we go on. All right, cut the light off. Like, I want the door closed and the light off. Like, I'm going to sleep.
Just get an hour in.
And then just wake me up. And then once you wake me up, I'm ready to go. Like, once they give me the mic, or give you the ball, I'm ready to go.
I'm ready. It relaxes me, man. It calms me.
What do you think about the international players anthem at weddings?
I tell you something. It really took off during COVID, which was very weird because I couldn't do a lot of concerts at the time. But there were a lot of weddings which blew my mind. There was so many weddings during COVID, particularly in Texas because Houston was wide open. So everyone wanted a wedding performance. Like, I turn down way more calls for Players Anthem than I take, right? And it usually comes from a friend or someone that someone knows kind of a thing. But no, it was obvious that that song was going to be that. That's why the video was done in the way it was done.
Yeah.
I let Andre, it was very hard to get Andre to commit to doing a video. So I let him take creative control. So once he was like, yeah, we're going to do a wedding. I was like, oh, well, this is going to be crazy then. I was like, you're getting married, right? He's like, yep. Like, no, this is finna go. And we found a church in Compton and we shot the video during BET Award weekend. That's why there's so many cameos. That's why David Banner popped. David Banner just showed up in a suit.
That's my dude.
I didn't understand. Him showing up was fine.
So were you just like, we're shooting this, whoever can pull up? Or was
Yeah.
it?
And people just started popping. I have no idea why, to this day, I'm going to have to ask him why he was just in LA in a suit anyway. Because it's not like he brought a suit for this, because he wasn't supposed to be in the video. He showed up, he had a suit. I was shooting a scene. I said, get in the car. Like T-Pain showed up, they put him in the choir. Like different people just started showing up, and we started putting motherfuckers in places. It was crazy. But no, it's to get to your original question, like I saw it a mile away, but then when people started calling, and people call Big too, right? Like technically Big and I are the only ones that perform this song because Pimp is gone and Andre doesn't really rap anymore. So we both be like, man, have you gotten into? Yeah, I just did one last month. Like it's really fun because the commitment is real low.
Yeah.
But you can actually charge more because, especially during COVID, like I was taxing people. Like, we'll come, I got to be this far away from people, I'll show up, but you got to pay extra for me to show up.
100%.
So
it's truly timeless. Like we were talking before about these these things hitting at random times or whatever. It doesn't feel like that one ever had a dip, and it feels like the new generation.
I'm very lucky that I have two records that will probably feel the same to everyone. Like Big Pimpin' is 25 years old right now. And I've never been anywhere where that song has played where it didn't give the same reaction that it's always given. It's like it's an international calling card for me. I can go pretty much to any country that has a nightclub and they'll play that record and they know that record. Players Anthem is just as big, but for different reasons. It's more of like, it's a club record, but it's a family type of record. Like the whole wedding setting and everything, it's more of a familial type of setting. You know, even with Pimp and the relationship to the hoes and all of that, it's still familial. It just sounds crazy, but that's really what it is. And it's a family song. Like we're cussing and talking crazy, but you put the moms and the aunts and the nieces and the wedding party and all of them, everybody is having that same fun time for the same reason, which is hard to do.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just crazy that it just keeps going.
No, it's still, I perform it probably still 60, 70 times a year. And when we get to that song, everybody's they're all ready. It closes every performance I do. It really does. It's the bookend.
Who do you in the current league, Shai aside, because we already talked about him, who's must-see TV for you? Who's like, I'm gonna buy a ticket to go watch?
Wemby is one. Wemby's gonna be special. I love Shai. Still love watching Kyrie.
Is there anyone have you seen with a handle like that?
Yeah, Jamal Tinsley. You remember Jamal Tinsley? Man, I don't think nobody had better handles than Jamal Tinsley. Even Kyrie. I think Jamal Tinsley handles was probably the best I've seen. That's an argument though, but
that's a good take.
Yeah. He was nice with that thing on the string. But yeah, like that's just to name a few. Wemby, Shai, Kai.
Wemby's an interesting one because we were talking about before with the Spurs. When you combine that obvious level of skill, he's locked in.
Yeah, my favorite player is Jokic though. That motherfucker, man, he's amazing, bro. Like I've never seen anything like it in any era. I was kind of trying to put him in our era and seeing what he could do. Now, I know he can't guard Shaq, but I'm like, can Shaq guard him?
Prime Shaq?
Prime, big 350-pound Aristotle Shaq. Could he guard Jokic?
I think Jokic would still find a way to finesse it.
I think so, too.
I had to say, because Shaq was operating off a lot of brute force. Like, he was just the immovable object, so to speak.
Yeah.
What do you think? You think it's just the combination of the touch, the intelligence, like what?
I think the intelligence, soft touch, right hand, right shoulder, left shoulder, footwork, intent. Like he has it all.
What do you think about Jokic Yao?
No, Yao is.
I'm just curious how it would go down. Like I'm not even gonna compare the two of them, but
I think Jokic have a hard time trying to stop Yao, but I don't see Yao doing anything on the other end against Jokic. It'll be a wash.
Jokic is another one. He's another one of those prayer guys. Like I feel like you are. I feel like when he's on. I mean, it's kind of like there's that strategy of like let him do whatever he wants and don't let the other guys beat you, and you might still have a chance, even if he goes for 40-20-20. But if he's actually, I shouldn't say that. If he goes for 40-26, but if he goes for 40-20-20, you're fucked.
You have no chance
because he's also dicing.
You have no chance.
Plus doing everything else.
Yeah. But because the way their offense is designed, bodies are going to come off of guys to where he can find them and make those plays. So it's not just going to be let Jokic get 40. It's just their system is designed for body parts to be moving, and he's going to find the right guy.
I think we'll wrap with this because you got to go to a shoot. For both you guys, your favorite leadership lesson you've received, and then as you sort of in both of your a million things you guys are doing now where you have to educate the youth, where you're trying to pass on those lessons. Is there a particular lesson that you try to instill in the younger generation who looks up to you and tries to take some version of your journey and bring it to themselves?
I tell people you got to die being coachable, right? Like you have to be open to change through every single part of your life because you're not operating under the same circumstances, with the same individuals, with the same, how should I put this? With the same weight, right? Like the weight I carried at 18, the weight I carried at 28, the weight I carry, it's so much different, right? And I know how to balance that weight now. So for me, like now I'm in a position where I'm in a whole new space. I have to be open to being coachable now because I can't think just because I'm me and I've been successful before, I'll be successful again. I worked very hard to be successful before, and I did a lot of work behind the scenes. That's what it's going to take for me to transition to this. But because I know I built something and I'm capable of doing the hard work, I feel more confident going into this next phase of life.
Yeah.
For me, listen, ask questions, and apply. You know what I mean? I think, especially for, like I just spoke to the rookies and second-year players for the Bills. And, a lot of these guys, when, you come from college where you're the man and, you're getting all the reps, you're getting all the praise, you're getting all the press clippings, everybody's talking about you. Now you're coming into a different chapter of your life. And this chapter of your life is the hardest part of your fucking career, right? Because it's the uncertainty of your future. You don't know where you're going to be in the next 4 or 5 years. You don't even know if you're going to be in the NFL because the lifespan is only 2 years, 2.5 years. So it's about listening. It's about asking questions about preparation. Go to one of your 10-year vets and ask that guy and talk to him because he has all the answers. He has 10 years in this shit of where you're trying to go. But also you got that 5th-year player that has been where you've been, recently. He's on his contract year, so he walking in with crazy energy now, right? He walking in that motherfucker, he just signed his contract, so he feeling real good about himself. Go talk to him and ask him what he did to be where he's at, right? Because now he's set. But he's still trying to get to where that guy in 10 years, where he's at. So everybody has a part to play, but this is your most challenging time because you don't know where you're gonna be. And now you got to apply all this information. There's so much that you're learning that's going through your head. You don't even know where the training room is. You don't know where it's at, right? There's just a lot that comes into play, and it's all about just listening and being coachable and applying that shit to the best of your ability. And that's why I tell a lot of these guys, man, that don't go in with the ego because that ego will have you drowning. Your ass will be out of the league. You'll be missing your opportunity.
Very well said. Bun, Tracy, everybody. Get some Trill Burgers. Pop in right now. Thank you guys.
No, I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.